Congratulations, you are now at the end of the Things Fall Apart module. You've read excerpts from the novels Things Fall Apart and Heart of Darkness. You've also learned how to identify themes in a story, as well as how the cultural point of view affects the story. Now it's time to bring these things together with a final writing response. First, let's look at the learning objective for this close read, and then I'll go over the writing prompt. Your learning objective is to be able to explain how similar themes about masculinity are developed through both texts through characterization. If you're confused, don't worry. I'll break that down more as I discuss the writing prompt. But before we begin on the writing prompt, I highly recommend discussing the skill-focused questions below this video with a partner. Discussing these questions will put you in a great position to be able to respond to this writing prompt. Now let's look at the writing prompt. Literary analysis. Compare related themes in Heart of Darkness and Things Fall Apart about masculinity. Respond by analyzing how the authors represent different cultural perspectives and what the details reveal about the worlds the characters live in. Okay, let's break this down. First off, we know that we are doing a literary analysis. This means that we'll be analyzing both texts. What we are comparing in the two stories are related themes about masculinity. This can be confusing, so let me help you out. Remember that a theme is the message that the author is making through their story. The word masculinity basically means being a man, or what we would call manliness. You can infer what the narrators of each story thinks about what it means to be a man by looking at the characters and how they are described, as well as the actions that they take. Think, for example, of Okonkwo's wrestling match to prove his strength. So you can infer that physical strength and the ability to fight or wrestle might be a measure of masculinity in his culture. Next, the prompt says to respond by analyzing how the authors represent different cultural perspectives. Remember that these stories were written by two very different authors. The first, Joseph Conrad, was writing about Africans from the perspective of a European. The other, Chinua Achebe, was writing about Africans from his own perspective as an African. Think about how their cultural points of view affect the stories. Finally, analyze what the details of the stories reveal about the worlds that the characters live in. Here you want to look at specific details from the settings of each story as well as character details. You are making an inference about the cultural situation that the characters live in. How does a person's culture influence their ideas of what it means to be a successful man or woman? Also, which excerpt do you think more clearly focuses on the traditional ideas of what it means to be a man? And here are your tasks. Your response should be at least 300 words. Write 2 to 3 solid paragraphs. Use evidence quoted from both texts. You may want to open another tab with the Heart of Darkness, or you can grab a printed copy on my back table. Make sure that you put quotation marks around any direct quotes that you use. Explain the evidence that you've selected and how it supports your point. Before you submit, take a look at the feedback that Write Precise gives you and revise according to its suggestions. Finally, when you feel that your response is in good shape, submit your final response. This prompt can be confusing. It's definitely meant to stretch your brain. If you feel lost, then please talk to me before you start. Good luck.